co-op games are a rare breed in the current climate. Most thrive on a you against the world mentality, and even online team modes feel like a loosely assembled set of individuals rather than a genuine unit. When a great co-op game comes along though, it can leave a profound impact. These are the kind of games that can make or break a friendship. I'm Jess from WhatCulture, and here are the 10 best co-op campaigns in video game history. Number 10. Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons. 2019's Nintendo Switch release of Brothers allowed it to be played in two-player mode, qualifying it as an official co-op game when it previously was not. Even with its original Xbox 360 and PS3 release, it was something of an honorary co-op. Back then, it was your thumbs cooperating with each other. The game is a depressingly sad story of two brothers setting off on a journey to fetch medicinal water for their sick father, with the additional detail of their mother having drowned. The game even begins at the mother's tombstone. There's a bright art style mixed in with this tone, and the obstacles you come across range from the ridiculous, like an angry dog, to the tragic. It's a puzzle platformer, one where the older brother is better at the jobs which require strength, and the younger better at agility in tight spaces. On the Switch version, it's one Joy-Con per brother, meaning each player controls one or the other. Back in the original though, each thumbstick was a brother, meaning it was up to you to make sure they were cooperating by moving both in tandem. Either way, it's one hell of a cooperative experience and a fantastic masterpiece of a game. Number 9. Borderlands 2. Borderlands are one of the few games keeping traditional couch co-op alive. The whole game can be completed in single player, and indeed a big chunk of the player base go through the game entirely on their own, but it was designed for 4-player co-op, and playing it that way elevates the whole experience. All 4 Borderlands games have the co-op function, but Borderlands 2 just edges it out by the strength of its characters. Before Overwatch made the hero shooter into a phenomenon, Borderlands were using the same techniques with their own playable characters. Each game allows you to pick from a small roster and then set out on your journey alone or venture off together. Picking heroes who work well in conjunction with each other will be your key to success, as will choosing the best array of weapons. Borderlands relies heavily on elemental weapons, with some enemies weak to corrosive attacks, others to explosives, and so on. On your own, you need to constantly be switching between them to survive, but as a team, you can have more tailored loadouts to ensure you're prepared for any situation. Number 8. Divinity: Original Sin. Divinity: Original Sin is one of the closest experiences you can get to playing a tabletop game via video game. A classic RPG in all the best ways, it started out as an indie Kickstarter project, following the success of the likes of Project Eternity in the early 2010s. With its 2013 Kickstarter a success, Divinity hit PCs in 2014 and consoles a year later. The massive open world and intelligent tactical combat made it a rich and enjoyable experience, but when it came to co-op gameplay, it went up another level. The story weaves the tale of the two-player characters together with depth and heart. While Borderlands is just a gang of hunters who happen to be working together, Divinity strikes much deeper. Playing in solo, you control both and therefore still experience the whole story, but in co-op, you and your partner feel like you're on a journey together. It's how much Divinity buys into the co-op side of things which makes it stand out. While sneaking past guards is hardly new for an RPG, in Divinity, one character can spark a conversation with said guard while the other sneaks past. It's the attention to detail that makes this one so special. Number 7. Splinter Cell: Conviction. Even if you only played Splinter Cell: Conviction in single-player mode, the legacy of multiplayer co-op mode is clear to see. A fair few games are designed for single-player, then get the multiplayer option tacked on. But if anything, Splinter Cell: Conviction worked the other way around. This comes through 2 new features which work best when played as a team, but due to the tactical nature of the game, can be utilized in solo too. The first is Last Known Position, which happens if a guard spots you and then you break line of sight. It leaves a ghost on the map so you know where guards think you are. Great for flanking in solo or setting ambush traps with a partner. The second new game feature is Mark and Execute, which again works in both single or multiplayer. Mark and Execute allows you to mark specific targets to execute later, either guards or objects. For example, you can choose to shoot out lights above a guard to distract him before moving on to another target. In multiplayer, with a little bit of teamwork, you can get a good rhythm going to move on undetected. Number 6. Diablo 3. Diablo 3 is a mix of genres, but it never feels overloaded. Sure, when you actually write down third-person hack-and-slash action RPG dungeon crawler, it seems like a lot, but it never feels like too many ideas together. It just feels like Diablo. Any Diablo title could have made the cut here, but Diablo 3 is the most polished and well put together, albeit slightly divisive. In it, there are 7 different character classes for you to choose from, 5 on release and 2 added later. You need to work together to assemble the best team and varied ability sets, although you can play it in solo player and try and be a jack of all trades. Many critics praise the new character ability system for being much more flexible than its predecessors. Rather than stick you on one path early on, there was more room for experimentation this time around, and therefore a much more varied team could be built. The much brighter color palette than the previous games wasn't universally loved, though overall it was a more intuitive and enjoyable game. Number 5, Rayman Legends. Though co-op gameplay isn't the defining aspect of the criminally underrated Rayman Legends, the adventure is simply too much fun to leave it on the sidelines. In a slightly uneven co-op experience, one player controls Rayman himself while the other controls Murphy to pull levers and wheels to shift obstacles. With a wide array of levels available, having a quick-thinking player as Murphy is crucial on the speed-based levels. Legends remakes 40 levels from the original Rayman game, along with a set of fresh ones. Invaded levels, which need to be completed before the chasing beast catches you, and rhythm boss battles, where jumps and dashes coincide with the beat of rock and roll songs. Number 4, Left 4 Dead 2. Left 4 Dead 2 is yet another Valve game fans have been waiting a long time to see a sequel for. Over a decade, in fact, and while many zombie games have come a long way since, not many have been better than this 4-player journey. It introduces 4 new survivors for your team to play as, and requires you to work as a unit in order to make your way through hordes of infected. Highly graphic, the game was swept up in moral panic controversy, with Australia and Germany even refusing to rate the game. Though there was violence in the game, it didn't really seem to be too much more than an average shooter, and it received praise from critics and fans alike. There's 5 campaigns to be found here, each are around 3 to 5 levels. It's a game which works on quick thinking, short adventures, never really letting you escape from the claustrophobic feel. In a longer game, it would get tedious, but in Left 4 Dead 2, the balance is perfect. Number 3, Monster Hunter World. Monster Hunter World was designed to bring the Monster Hunter franchise to a wider audience, and it certainly managed that. The 5th in the series, it was the first to gain a significant foothold in the West, and was met with bags of praise upon its December 2017 release. Though it can be completed in solo gameplay, it's much easier, not to mention much more fun, to do it with a party. Prior to release, veterans of the game organized an Adopt a Hunter program, mindful of the fact that many Westerners would be newbies. More experienced players tried to take them under their wing and show them the ropes, which is adorable. The game offers up a lush world to explore and a whole array of creatures to kill. There's some argument that perhaps it would feel a bit less empty if there was more to it than simply killing on every mission, but then, I mean, it's called Monster Hunter, you know what you're getting into. The map isn't the most intuitive, so having a party to help with the exploration and scouting certainly makes things move more smoothly. Number 2, Portal 2. The second Valve game on the list after Left 4 Dead 2, Portal 2 builds on the success of its predecessor, but adds new depth and creativity. The single-player story revolves yet again around Shell, although since the co-op campaign is completely different, there's not too much point in delving into that here. Other games on this list allow you to vary who controls what character, to work through the story as a team, or in most cases, just go solo. Portal 2, though, has 2 different stories, one for single and one for co-op. In the multiplayer mode, you play as either Atlas or Peabody. Both robots are voiced by D. Bradley Baker, best known for playing Klaus in American Dad. Both the single and multiplayer campaigns are about 6 hours each, although the gameplay is noticeably different. For one, death in co-op doesn't reset your puzzle progress, but there's also the fact that Atlas and Peabody carry different guns, and coordinating who needs to use which one and when is crucial to your progress. Number 1, A Way Out. And finally, we've got A Way Out, which bookends this article with Joseph Fares' games, starting with Brothers and ending with A Way Out. Of course, we could have put his other game It Takes Two on here, which would happily sit among the rest, but A Way Out is much more underrated, but still completely worth your time. Where Brothers is more of a pseudo co-op with multiplayer only featured on Switch, A Way Out is a nailed-on multiplayer title. So much so, in fact, it's impossible to play in single player. The whole thing must be completed with 2 players, either local or online. The slow, methodical feel of Brothers has been nixed here for something much more action-packed. It features two inmates working together to escape prison and is a bold experiment in what co-op can mean. Though the story has constant split screen and each player relies on the other to ultimately progress, their stories are not told in sync. It's fairly common to have one player enter a cutscene while the other continues with their gameplay. It's perhaps not the cleanest execution, but might just be the most ambitious co-op experience ever. The fact you could play with a friend, even if only one of you owned it, is also a massive plus. That's the end of our list, but let me know down in that comment box what is your favorite co-op campaign in video game history. As always, I've been Jess from WhatCulture. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. If you like, you can come say hi to me on my Twitter account where I'm @JessMcDonald, but make sure you stay tuned to us here for plenty more gaming goodness.